It's chip lunch.
Ooh.
Oh, it's chip lunch.
G.
Come on, everybody. It's time to eat, 'cause it's chip lunch.
New theme song. Oh,
Musical master.
he's destroying the set, just like a real musician.
Yeah, smash the guitar.
Real, yeah,
guitars
real
on
rock and
the
roll.
sets.
Very
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain / Pete Townsend.
Pete Town. Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix used to do that.
Yeah. You'd have to light it on fire afterwards.
Oh, that's wild. Did he put methylated spirits on
Like
there?
lighter fluid.
Is that what methylated spirits are? No, lighter fluid's different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't smoke.
Obviously.
Well, it was nice to have someone come in and do the theme tune for the Chip Lunch podcast.
You're welcome.
Wasn't talking to you. Now that you've raised your voice, Elijah Crawshaw,
Yes.
welcome to Chip Lunch podcast.
Thank you very much.
You want to put that microphone a little bit closer to your mouth?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Thank you.
Can you hear him, Ek? Excellent. You can hear him.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Excellent. Party on.
Oh yeah, so the new theme song that we just you're already contributing to the podcast. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
How are you?
I am brilliant. It's quite a hot day today, though.
It
and
is.
I am in all black and jeans. So mistakes were made today.
Not by me. You've got pants on too, Brayden, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's
You
something.
sure he's got pants on?
Respecting
Well, I
the
don't know.
people you're with, you know.
Let's check at the covering at the front of this table is a little bit see through, so you better make sure. Yes,
Wait.
can confirm. Wearing very hot jeans.
Thank you.
I of course are wearing shorts.
Yes. Yes.
Of course.
Of course.
I went through a whole year of year 11 wearing shorts.
Only shorts.
I decided
You never took them off.
I was doing that. Yeah, that's right. I put pants over the top of them. No, just every day of school wore.
Might I
Shorts.
ask why?
I just set myself a goal and like I'm going to do it.
Were you doing it with someone else?
No.
Just by yourself?
Yeah.
Lone
I'm
Ranger?
going to do this. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My legs were Lone Rangers. Legs from below the knees, Lone Rangers. I feel like I'm trying to remember how long my shorts were because a different time than you wouldn't if you wore those kind of shorter shorts above the knee.
Yeah.
You weren't cool back then.
Yeah, I don't know. Back in the 50s. Probably pretty short, weren't they?
Got him.
Got him.
Yeah, back to our guest. Cool shirt though, Eli.
Thank you. Citizens.
Yeah.
And do you want
Great
to tell the
band.
story about why you actually bought that shirt though?
Oh, well, January 31st, the Citizens came
Let me
over.
set the scene.
It was a cold and, well, not a cold and stormy night,
It was warm as.
a warm night, a dark and stormy night.
Nice.
Citizens, it's a Christian band. They came to Sydney to play a concert, and I went in a long black sleeve shirt, and it got really sweaty. And I knew it would get really sweaty, so I bought this shirt so I could get changed out of it, so I wouldn't have to.
So you went through the concert the whole time with the long sleeve shirt
Yep.
on, and then
Yep.
at the end you went and bought
Yep.
some merch so you could survive the trip home.
It's also just a cool shirt.
Yeah,
It is a cool
it is a
shirt.
cool shirt. I like it.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Also wearing the chain, the cross on a chain.
Yeah.
I don't know if have we actually started the podcast yet?
Yes.
Welcome to the Chip Lunch podcast.
Welcome.
This
It's
is
wonderful.
Joel,
It's wonderful to have you along with us. This is Brayden.
and this is Eli.
And this
How
is
excellent.
me.
This is me.
This is me. That
This
sounds like
bu-
the podcast should be called that.
It sounds
This
like
is
a
me.
makeup ad. You're worth it. This is me. Your skin deserves better. This is me.
Treat yourself.
Oh yeah. You deserve it.
Yes, you do. Anyway,
What a delicious a treat that we very much deserve.
Calling me a treat?
Yeah, you're a delicious treat. What a snack.
What a great start to the
What a
podcast.
great snack.
speaking of snacks,
Yes?
you know what a good snack is? Hot chips.
Oh,
Hot chips.
Segue.
I do like some
Segue.
hot chips.
Eli, how do you like your hot chips?
You know, if I always have the choice,
Yeah.
I always take chicken salt.
Mmm.
Always. But sometimes they don't
man.
put enough chicken salt on.
Oh,
Yes.
And so you gotta lather it on. You gotta buy like
Yes.
the extra bottle that they always sell. It's
Yes.
never as good.
No,
Like,
it
is when
isn't.
they put
I
it
don't
on?
know what they
I don't
put
know
in.
why.
Yeah.
But you just
MSG.
lather that on.
MSG.
You lather that on.
Yes. You want it fluorescently
Lather.
glowing.
Can you stop using the word lather? It sounds like a soap.
You want them like fluorescently glowing that weird yellow color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes the problem is
Mm.
sometimes not everyone likes chicken salt, and
Yeah,
so
there are
then you just have
unfortunate people.
chicken saltless chips.
Yeah. They're
And
kind
so-
of boring.
What better condiment to use than tomato sauce? on
Yeah,
chips?
I'm with you there.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm. I don't think there is a better condiment.
There's not.
Ooh,
There's not.
that's a different podcast.
Sauces.
We just go through sauces.
Saucy.
It's sauce lunch.
Having sauce for lunch.
That'll be next when we run out of chip questions.
I don't think it will ever will. As long as we don't run out of guests, we won't run out of chip questions.
Yeah,
I
that's
suppose.
true.
Do you usually get it from some particular shop?
Well, there used to be a shop down near my house, but that closed down.
R.I.P. Nine Fish.
Yes.
You weren't buying enough,
Went to
obviously.
a better place.
Obviously.
Mm.
They were like right next to a school, so I'm surprised that they did end up shutting down.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we'd go like after school on Thursdays. Like the day would finish early, and my group of friends would walk down the
nice.
hill to the chip shop. It was a blast.
It looks like you're pouring Coke into a tea there, Brayden.
What? You don't have your. How do you take your tea?
What do you mean?
2 sugars and Coke, please.
2 sugars? There's about 17 sugars in a Coke.
No, it's extra because it's not sweet enough.
Is it Coke Zero or is it just regular Coke?
Can't do the zero thing, man.
Full strength.
Yeah, it's
Classic.
like it's like if you're gonna hurt yourself, really hurt yourself. Why are you doing the no sugar thing? It's all good.
Yeah, so true. Eli, you ready for the next question?
I don't know, am I?
I'm asking you.
I don't know myself.
Okay, I'm going to ask you anyway.
Wait, hold up. I need to mentally prepare myself.
All right.
Okay.
17 million seconds of dead air. Elijah, how did you become a Christian?
How did I become a Christian? Well, I am the pastor's kid. So I grew up in a...
The.
Did I call
Hey.
the pastor's
This
kid?
is me. Pastor's kid.
I grew up in a Christian home, Christian church. Normally they're Christian.
Yeah, most churches are Christian.
And I kind of just grew up in the environment of knowing God and believing in God. But it wasn't until school where I actually found it a bit more difficult to live out my faith. I went to a public school, and so that involved a lot of negative feedback or views and opinions against Christians. And it wasn't heaps helpful for my faith.
Was that in primary school or in
That
high
was
school? or
that was
both?
more in high school. Primary school
Yeah.
was kind of docile. Like no one, no one really cared. But I do remember when we were playing in year 7, we were playing tackle bull rush, and so classic. Yes, I loved it because I'm really fast. I wasn't very big. I'm not very big yet to this day.
Yet.
But
Did you say yet?
yet?
Yep.
Yet. Maybe a few more Climb Fit
Yes.
gym sessions.
It's brought to you by ClimbFit.
And where was I? I lost my train of thought.
Tackle bull rush.
Tackle bull rush, that's
Yep.
right. And at the end of it, I think the guys were moving on to a different game, and I distinctively remember them say, "If you are a Christian, then stay away."
Oh,
It's
wow.
brutal, right?
This is in high school?
in year 7.
Year 7.
Year 7.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez.
And so, setting a great standpoint for living life as a Christian in this particular school, and it, probably the same with a lot of other schools. And it's such a shame how Christianity isn't viewed very well, and it kind of gave me a lot of doubts throughout mid to late high school. But it wasn't until the HSC and trials. Actually, no, sorry. Let me backtrack a little bit. The culture was a massive aspect into my Christian walk. It's really influenced the way I lived and the way I thought and the way I dressed, and it was
What culture?
like just bag out culture and
yeah. So like the
Kinda-
culture that was happening in high school.
yeah,
Yeah.
and kind of anti-Christian culture.
Mm.
And I kind of found myself hiding my faith in a way. Like everyone knew that I was a Christian, but I never really brought it up or kind of talked about it at all. And so that made that Christian side of me kind of hide away in the shadows a bit and kind of try to blend in. And so I became very quiet. I became a very quiet individual. And but it wasn't. But it was church. The community at church which was completely different to school, which I held on to with like a really clenched fist, because I just loved it. Like I loved the culture there and how much that culture resonated with my views and how I wanted to live and the people that I wanted to be around. And it wasn't until the HSC and the trials where I really had to decide to put my faith in God, my trust and faith in God, because this was it. I was being told that this was like the most important part of my life. Like if you fail this test, then what else are you going to do? Which is totally false.
Like school was saying that?
Yeah, which is totally false. And it's just kind of the doctrine that they kind of give you, and they kind of make you fear. Actually, no, not kind of. They make you fear the HSE. And it's, I guess it's like a motivational thing to get you to study, but it was really unhelpful.
Yeah.
And so my brother Ethan, he and his wife Katie, they sent me over a care package with a lot of food, which was very delicious and very helpful. But that was also included in this little package was like a palm card, like a list of palm cards with Bible verses on them. Now, I don't recall the Bible verse. I probably should have got it up before the podcast started, but it's all right. It was talking about don't put your trust in God and don't put your trust in your own knowledge and understanding. And I was like, I am not sure about this engineering test because there's so much that I have to know. There's so much more that I have to learn. And so I was just like super stressed, and I was super not looking forward to it because I had all this stuff that I didn't know and that I had to know. And so this Bible verse was really beneficial for me and for my faith, because it realized that that God was sovereign and that He had a plan for me. And if he is a good God, then His plan for me will be good. And I kind of joined the dots, and I was like, you know what? This doesn't really matter. Like, I'm going to die one day. I'm going to go to heaven. What's a test? What's a test mean to any of that? And so I was still a little stressed because my university was on the line that I wanted to, the university course I wanted to get into at Wollongong for engineering was on the line. And so I did want to get into that. But if God didn't want me to get into that, then I wouldn't go into it. And there'd probably be something better that I would end up doing instead of that. And yeah, that's kind of how I've been going. And then just of recent, I'm almost done.
It's all right.
It's your podcast, bro.
This is me.
This is me. I even wrote the intro theme as well.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it is your podcast. This might be a takeover.
Gunning for our jobs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So LIT is a Christian Leaders in Training Camp. That's what the LIT stands for.
Okay.
And that was really helpful because it was kind of a culture shock going from this really negative anti-Christian community into this really pro-Christian community where people actually wanted to love each other rather than just wanted to be friends because that's who they were with. And I was just like, this place is so cool, and being a Christian is so cool. And I got super excited, and I'm a fan of music, and I was really hyped by the music that they played there. I really loved it because it's like a full factory-sized hall with all these lights and all these instruments. It's awesome. And so that got me really hyped, and now I'm feeling great about God. I love Him, He's a great friend, and he's my Lord and Savior, and I will walk anywhere with him.
Cool. Is that the podcast done? 'Cause that was a super fast forward version of it. I was just going to ask you, like, just to rewind a little bit. Some people that grow up in a Christian family, like, say there's a time they took on their faith themselves. Do you think there was a time that you can remember doing that?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Like, if you like, a lot of people grow up in a Christian family and they go, oh, it was just my family's faith.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like matching
Right.
what my family are doing.
Yeah.
Was there a time you're like, no, I'm taking this on for myself?
I think maybe at first it was a little bit like that, but I always felt independent with my faith, and so that never really affected me. I never really had that thought. I never really had that pressure from church to be a Christian because my family were Christian, and so I don't think that really
That's okay.
goes with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I was just like, if there was like, do you have any of these moments when you were younger where you're like, oh no, like I am a Christian, or is it just, it's always been a constant thing?
I think it's just been a constant thing.
Yeah, okay.
In high school, as I said, it was a bit more. As I was maturing in my faith, I was having a lot more different ideologies, like that I could bear witness to, and different thoughts that I could experience. So that was my fight to wrestle. It was my bear to wrestle with, and I wasn't given any pressure by my parents or my family, and I think that was very helpful for me because it's my Christian walk, and it's not really theirs, and I think they understood that.
So you felt like you had the opportunity to actually kind of wrestle with your faith a little bit, given your experiences, especially at high school. But then in the end, it worked out in a way that you think that God actually wanted you to work out anyway.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So how old are you? You're only 18?
I'm 18. I'm turning
18.
19 this year.
Cool. So, I mean, often when we have people on, they've been like around for a bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be keen to kind of dig in to a lot what you're talking about, because you seem to be reasonably affected by school and in terms of being a Christian, you know, without really like calling anyone out. Why was it such a formative thing for you, do you think? And were you comparing yourself to other people that you knew? You're like, you don't have the same experience that I do at school?
Definitely. Definitely. I was also comparing myself to other people at school and how they looked, how they acted, how much charisma they have. And I kind of felt alone in a way at school because I wasn't entirely sure of the standpoint in my friends' faith with God. Like I knew they were kind of Christians, but to me it didn't really feel like they acted like it all the time.
So you're kind of like unsure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You keep going. Sorry, I was just adding to that. So you're unsure that you're like, are they a Christian or are they not Christian? Where do I fit in with that? But then you felt alone because you were like, I'm not sure if anyone else feels like that.
100%.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to grapple with. And especially that I was the only male youth kid in my grade. And so I didn't really have that best friend to kind of cling to. Luckily, my brother was a really good friend with me. We have a really solid relationship. And one of the things with Soul Revival is that you can be friends with people who are like 1 year older than you, 2 years older than you, or like 10 years older than you.
Only 10. Because that doesn't include me.
Yeah, I need to get up to 50 years.
Yeah. Again, second ageist joke you've made, Braden, but I'll let it slip. Let it slip past the keeper. This is me. What were we saying? I can't even remember what we were saying.
We're talking about friendship and the lack of guys exactly Eli's age, but there was.
Because you're one of the first Soul Revival youth kids. Is that true or not? help me figure out the timeline.
I don't think I was one of the first. I was one of the first at Fuse, which is the younger kids youth group. I distinctively remember, actually, funnily enough, going up to the shops and getting hot chips. That was like a small group of us.
Yep.
Oh, at Kirawee.
At Kirawee, yeah.
Ah, that's
before that shop closed down as well.
Well,
Yeah.
There were some
cursed,
good
man.
hot chips.
Was the company good, or was it just the hot chips that were good?
The hot chips.
Was that when Kim was running Fuse? Who was running Fuse?
I think so. I think Dad was Dad was hanging out too. Yeah.
And so, if we're thinking about like you're feeling alone, even going to Fuse and to youth, like, and you're the only guy in your year, that would kind of contribute to that.
Definitely, yeah. But what I was saying about that, we can be friends with people who are older than us.
Yeah.
I was able to, because I didn't really have anyone to talk to that was closer to me, I could reach out to people like Braden and people like Joel, and then even though he's more than 10 years older than me.
The greatest divide.
Just wait till the grey hairs start coming up.
Oh no, he cuts them out.
Cut them out. I don't have any grey hairs. All right.
Yeah, 'cause you
Everyone's
cut 'em
always like,
out.
"Where's your grey hairs, Joel?" I'm like, "Don't have any, man."
Joel, not yet.
Yeah, it's because I diet.
How did that end up on my Wikipedia page?
Joel is known to dye his hair.
Publicly admitted. Yeah, that's cool. How did you? Yeah, so you obviously had a bit of leader input or older people around you.
Yep.
I thought, Joel's gone.
He's just walking off.
Getting some heat.
Wow.
It is pretty hot.
You're not that bad at the moment. Keep talking. Wow. Like I can just turn it on and turn it off. They can't hear you, Joel.
I know they can't. Probably turn the fan on.
If you guys are wondering what's happening, we're learning that Joel doesn't know how to turn on a fan.
Oh, it's hot.
There we go.
There we go. We're on.
We're on. We're kicking it. Wonder what the temperature is. It's not as hot as yesterday. But yesterday was like 35 or something.
What a great podcast. We're talking about the
Yeah, we're talking about the weather. It shows how great it is. I thought we've had... So you're the third Crawshaw that we've... No, fourth.
Fourth Crawshaw.
Fourth Crawshaw that we've had on. Forgot to count Greg.
Yeah, that's
No,
fine.
that's
It's just,
four.
just enough Crawshaws. That's
Yeah, you're the fourth Crawshaw we've had on. And two of those have been Bev and Pete, who are your grandparents, who I think are pretty great. Do you remember any time that you've spent with them that helped you with your faith?
I don't remember like specific times, but I do know that they have been a really good role model for me, and school kind of took me away from getting to know them more because I had to focus on my schoolwork. And actually, now I'm thinking about it, that was another reason why I kind of drifted away from God a bit, because of so much other things that I had to focus on.
Yeah.
And that was really, I didn't realize I was fading away at the time, but I was kind of slowly was. Where were we?
Do you think you were trying to find... Why do you think you focus so much on school?
I think my parents were really urging me on to getting work done, and to getting assignments on time. And I kind of wanted to do as well as I could. So I wanted to put as much effort into school as I could.
Yeah.
Even in year 7, I was like studying really hard.
Yeah.
Forgotten everything I learned in French. I put way too many hours into that. Oh man, it's not my day. Where were we?
We're just chatting about school and why do you think you felt like you needed to put... What led you to putting a lot of effort in maybe not doing other things?
I think it was also the school system in general, like wanting to get an A
Measure by achievement.
Measure by achievement. Yeah.
That's the Kirawee slogan, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. But that's kind of the mindset
Yeah.
they give you. And so you're striving to be the best possible person you can be in your academic way of life. And when you try to be good at one area of life, you start to go worse in another because you're putting more of your focus in that academic side. And so that's probably what was the reason for that. And also just me wanting to like beat my friends
Yeah.
and to go better than I did last time and to be happy with my results,
Yeah.
because you get like a 70 or something and you'd be like, oh, that's rubbish. And then you get like an 80 and you'd be like, oh, I could probably as best as I could do. But I could go higher because there's always that 20% that you could do better. And so it's a really negative way of looking at it. And I didn't realize it up until later, but it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you think that it was because you weren't getting any validation from school about being a Christian, but you were getting validation for trying and trying to do well? And so
Yeah,
that was kind
actually.
of like spurring on the
Yeah.
choices?
You're just thinking about that now? Is that a good point?
That's
was it?
actually never crossed my mind before.
Mm. But why did you feel like you needed to beat your friends as well? Because it was that validation thing? Like,
Yeah,
I'm actually achieving this.
definitely.
Yeah, okay.
And kind of proving it to myself as well. Proving that I am really good at school.
Mm.
Why did you feel like you needed to do that, do you reckon?
That was a period of my life where I didn't think I was very good at things.
Mm.
And so I kind of try to grab onto things that I knew that I'd go well at. Like
Mm.
chess was one of those big things.
Chess?
Yeah.
Chess, sorry. Is that what you
Chess,
said?
yes.
I thought you said Jess. I'm like,
Chess.
who's that?
No, I'm
But
not grabbing onto
so
chess.
chess, the board game invented in the 10th century, I believe, in India.
In India.
I think so. It was in India. I know it was invented in India.
Can you fact check that?
Yeah, 100%. The only reason I know is because I read it in a book that I got for my son on chess.
I read it in a book.
Yes, I read it in a book. So chess, why is chess such a...
My
Fun thing for
grandfather used to teach me. He used to be my grandmaster.
Sensei?
My sensei. That's what I saw him as.
grandmaster?
You can talk to him about it and he'll say, oh, no, I'm
Is
not
Pete,
that
is Pete
great
good at chess?
at chess. Yeah, he was great.
Have you beaten Pete?
I've beaten him twice.
Oh, only twice.
Only
How many
twice.
games have you played, do you reckon?
Too many. A
Yeah.
lot more than twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe this.
History
never
of
came.
chess traces back nearly 1,500 years to its earliest predecessor called Chaturanga in India.
So
Look
it
at
is
you
in
go.
India.
From India, it spread to Persia.
I didn't know Pete was really good at chess.
Well, they reckon the game evolved roughly into its current form about 1500 CE, which is Common Era. That's AD, isn't it? 1500 AD?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So I was a bit wrong with the 9th century, but, you know,
You said 10th, I think.
10th, sorry, yep. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Well, see, in Chaturanga, the game where it came from flourished in India in the 6th century. So it could be close, man. So what do you love about chess, though, Eli?
Oh, it's just
The strategy?
the strategy. I'm a bit of a strategist. I like Risk.
Mm-hmm.
All those sorts
Pandemic.
of board games. Pandemic, yes.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed the time I spent with my grandfather.
That would have been cool.
And there was a chess club in primary school.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the best because there was always that one person who's like slightly better than you. I actually have a memory of the one time, it was the grand final of this tournament that we had at school.
Mm.
And this game I had with him was going overtime. So it was in lunch, and lunch went for like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And so this game went longer than 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was destroying him. And I was like, what is happening? I'm winning. I'm about to win this game. I'm about to win the tournament. But
Did you get too cocky?
because I didn't want to get in trouble. I was like, hey, maybe we should go to the assembly that's on and finish it when we get back. And he was like, Yeah, and then we talked to the chess teacher, and she was like, "You're just gonna restart it."
Oh.
And I was like, "Yeah, I probably could beat him again." I didn't beat him again, and so I've never actually beaten him, which is a shame.
That is
But
devastating.
maybe if we versed again, then I would wipe the floor with him.
Do you still play much chess?
I do play chess. Yeah,
They're online?
a bit online. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
I was playing online chess today,
Cool.
and I really like the timer. Speeds things up, makes it a bit different. And so at year 13, which is kind of, I'm taking a gap year from school just to for a break, so I could dedicate a life of my year, a year of my life to my faith in God and to building up my knowledge of the Bible and understanding Him a bit more through His Word and through prayer. And so some of the guys there, they're really into chess. And so that kind of...
Convenient.
Yeah, how convenient. And so that kind of reignited the spark.
Okay.
So
are you,
reignited
are
the
you
flame.
dominating at year 13?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Nice. Do you have like a leaderboard there?
Oh, we should. Spike ball is a bit more popular.
What's spike ball?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you explain? It's like volley,
There's like a little
kind of.
trampoline thing in the middle.
Oh,
and you're hitting
yeah.
the like a
Yep.
yeah like a
Yeah.
softball-sized ball.
That looks fun.
Into it. It's
It's
very
super fun.
fun at the beach.
You got to
Yeah.
you got to
So you can
surround
dive.
it, and you have a team.
You have a team
Yeah,
member,
teams
yeah.
of 2.
Teams too, and then you got to hit it into the bouncy trampoline, and then the other team's got to hit it back into the trampoline.
Your schoolies, we played a lot of it, didn't we? On the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very fun.
Didn't you like fall and you...
Oh, I destroyed myself.
You destroyed
I
yourself.
absolutely destroyed myself.
And he was on my team as well.
I went for a dive and my foot just caught in the sand. And my knee kept moving. It was not a good time.
No.
But it was very fun.
Mm.
Very fun game.
That does sound like a good game. Do you have like a mad chess set that you only bring out for special occasions?
I do.
Yes.
Where'd you get that chess set?
From this shop in Italy. I
Did you?
ordered it
Ooh.
from Australia and it came. It took a while to get here.
What's it?
Yeah.
What's it made of?
Yeah.
Wood?
And what is it? What makes it so good?
I think there's one that's titanium,
Ooh. Unbreakable.
but like I think it's just the outside of this
Ah, yeah.
titanium and the inside's kind of steel or something.
Cool. Was that the one you got in Italy or is
Italy, yeah.
Yeah, very
Or
cool.
it came from Italy. Italy.
Does
at
it
least.
move super smooth? What's the what
Oh,
do
that's
you
good.
measure a
That's good.
chess set?
Yeah. What makes it a better chess set? Is it like
The weight.
raised up?
The weight, yes, the weight.
It's like a good glass. You know, like it has a
Yeah.
heavy base.
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
a
thing.
good glass.
Yeah, Coke in a
And-
mug. That's a good measure of a bad quality.
Good quality.
The board also,
Mm.
Yeah.
like it's a really nice wood board with like felt underneath,
Nice.
and it's
So it won't
kind of and it's kind of slanted a bit, so that you could pick it up. Because if it's just like a flat piece of wood, then you're not going to be able to pick it up.
Oh, but it doesn't fold or anything. It's just one
No.
piece.
It's an actual wood one. I do have a folding one.
Mm.
That one I got from Paris. That's the one I bring to year 13 because it's a lot easier to get around.
Yeah, and you're not going to have those plebs playing on your special set, are you?
Not yet, Italian one.
Not those plebs.
Not the Italian version. Come on. I like the ones that I've seen that you like. They're kind of like a raised platform, and I don't know if you store the chess pieces in it, but it's like it looks like very very grand when you're playing on it. Do they move like as Braden said, nice and smooth across the
Oh yeah.
board? Do
Oh,
they have
yeah.
like a nice felt bottom? Mm. That sounds nice. I can appreciate that. I might have to have you flog me at chess one day because I know the basic rules and movements, and that's about it. So
Yeah, I think.
I wouldn't mind getting better at it though.
Yeah, there's so much. I feel like it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, that's going to take a long time, and I'm still probably going to get flogged by someone. So it's hard to get motivated.
Yeah, you're gonna like the thing that I used to play a little bit when I was younger, and I would always just go, yes, just get to make this move, great. But I wouldn't see the strategic piece of
Yeah.
it. Whereas like if I make this move, this guy he's going to take me here.
You
or,
gotta think a few moves ahead.
yeah.
It's hard.
Mm.
It's really hard.
But I like that. I think as as you've both mentioned a number of times, I'm quite mature now in some aspects. And
Some aspects. What's that supposed to mean?
immature in others. some would argue. But I think like, do you think that playing with chess helps you like kind of deal with life a little bit sometimes? Like it's like a little bit of break and an engagement in your brain in a different way.
Kinda, yeah. I'm a bit introverted, so I like spending some time with myself. But when I spend time with myself, with this energy that I'm not using talking to people, I like to utilize it into moving pieces around.
Do you play against yourself?
Yes, I do.
Like you spin the board?
I don't spin the board.
Oh, you don't spin. What do you move around to
I
the
just
other
move
side?
around different pieces.
Oh, okay. I like those ones where you can spin the board too. Anyway,
Yeah. This one spins around because it's
Yeah.
kind of like at a point. Anyway,
chess boss.
chess boss. Yes.
That's cool. Talking about high school again,
Mhm.
because we have talked about in a very early episode, Brady,
Mhm.
we talked about high school.
Mm.
Tell
Go
us-
back and find it.
Yeah, go back and find it. I think it's like episode 4 or something. One question I had was, you said that you felt alone and you found it really difficult. What was the stuff that contributed to that at school?
There was a few relationships that probably weren't that great,
Right.
and I didn't really know it at the time, but they were a little bit toxic.
With just mates? Is that what
With
you mean?
mates, yeah.
Mhm.
Just kind of not building each other up, which is another reason why I really like the church community, because we're looking to give each other life rather than give each other death. That's when I was in Chicago. I went to Chicago for a holiday last year, and I was at the museum they have there. It's a massive museum. I forget what it's called. You got it?
I'll look it up. You keep going.
Fingers is on it.
And we were getting food, and Dad was like, it came up in conversation somehow, and Dad described it as death words and life words. When you're giving life words to people, you're building people up, and you're encouraging them. But when you're giving death words to people, you're putting them down and making them look worse than you.
Yeah. Mm.
And it's not a very Christian thing to do.
Do you think you got sucked into the culture of giving death words?
Yep.
In high school?
Mm-hmm.
I think that I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
I was like, I contributed to it. But when I left school, I was like, oh, there's a different way you can do things. And I
Yeah.
think like that contributed very much to me becoming a Christian towards the end of high school as well, was I want more out of the relationships I have with the people that I'm around.
Yeah.
Whereas
Totally.
it was with my schoolmates, I think a lot of the time was, not building each other up at all. Like I was like, I just wanted to be those friends. I wanted those friends, like, to have fun with them and like to still banter with each other and like
Yeah.
have a crack at each other and all that kind of thing. But then that was it. There wasn't more to it.
Mm.
No, I only realized when I started going to youth group a lot more and stuff, is like, oh, there's a lot, like there's that what I've been looking for, rather than death words, as you said all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Like, give us an example of what it would be like. Surely you've got some troubling situations that you can share without naming people.
Oh, well, there's handball, and
Oh, yeah.
you get someone out, and they just hold a grudge on you for like the entirety of lunch.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
that's the point of the game, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really like when people held grudges on you though. It just felt wrong, and I can't really think of specific times, but it's more just like when you're casually talking with each other, and it's kind of seen as a way to fit in and a way to be friends with each other.
And to cover up your insecurities.
Yeah, which is really weird.
So like if you ever like show any kind of vulnerability, you're just going to get absolutely smashed
100%.
with, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you suck. Or like, it's just like, but that's what it's like, I think, amongst guys. It's just like, that's because you're crap at this, or that's because you suck at this. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Which probably doesn't contribute to the feelings that you're talking about before, about not feeling good enough at stuff. And like,
Oh no, that 100% did.
yeah. And
Well,
not,
yeah, and
and
I
not having the ability to say, oh, like, I'm not good at this, and not something, oh, you could like work on this, or you could do it, or don't worry about it, or whatever. It's like, yeah, because you're crap.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think guy culture, at least it was, like we've chatted a little bit about this previously in high school, it's like you just don't want to be the person with the hot potato. It's just like just trying to pass everything on to someone else so that the focus doesn't get caught on you and you're in the
Yeah,
firing line.
100%.
of you in a vulnerable situation,
exactly.
it's like, oh, quick, don't find me out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because this guy's this.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah,
you're all just trying to like not be the one that's at the bottom. It's so hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's school for everyone, and I think that's
Yeah.
the other thing that sometimes we really struggle with, is that school can be very hierarchical,
Yeah.
and I think it's different for guys and girls, but it's still like it's still like the same thing of like who's not the top dog, but it's almost like breaks down into the different groups that you're in as well. Like
Yeah.
who's at the top of that one, because then you're never going to get found out
Yeah. But you're just looking for validation from
just for who you
People.
are. I think, yeah.
yeah.
It is tough. What do you think? What helped you get through those kind of things, Eli? Because, like, if we look at the start of the podcast, you really focused on that, but you're still here as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You're still talking about it,
Yeah.
which is really cool. What got you through that? Now, you mentioned the thing about HSC, but what about the majority of high school?
Yeah. Well, there's a saying where I don't know who said it, but you are the 5 people you become the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Mm.
And so when you're at school, you're there 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And so you're going to become like your friends at school.
Yep.
And you're there for 6 hours a day. So you're going to become those people at school.
Yeah.
And Dad's phone was just ringing.
Yeah, no, he's trying to locate it, I think.
Oh,
He's trying to find my iPhone.
I'm glad he found it then. But then there's church. And then there's the culture at church. And even though you're there for 2 nights a week, that it had a bigger impact on my life because I just really appreciated the positive community where people were giving life words to each other rather than death words all the time. And it just, as an individual, it made me feel a lot better about myself. And made me feel a lot better that people actually do believe in God and are sharing my faith and are kind of sharing the same things that I'm going through, like the persecution or the I don't know other things like friends who are still in school, like the persecution in school as well. And I found that really awesome. And I just, as I said, I really held on to it, and I had to hold on to it really firmly because if I didn't, then I'd fall back into school. And I'm really thankful to God that I don't like partying. Like I don't really like going to social events very often that much. I mean, going to churches, but that's kind of different. Over the years, I have come to like talking to people more. And I actually have a theory that my introversion originated from my brother not hanging out with me as much because he's so much older than me. He's 6 years older than me. And so because there was such a big gap, he was spending time with his mates at school, and I was spending time with myself because I wasn't quite at that stage where I could go out with my friends. And so I'd sit on the computer for hours, or I'd watch TV, or just go do something in the front yard. Whatever it is, I just found myself in my thoughts. And I felt comfortable with that. And I think that's why I'm a bit of an introvert. And it makes sense if you think about it. But coming back to the church thing, I really appreciated that community. And because of this introversion, I didn't really go deeper into the drinking and the alcohol and the like vapes and drugs and stuff. And there was something about my heart that knew it was wrong. And I did get exposed to it, but I avoided it. Mm-hmm. I'm really thankful that God helps me do that.
How opposed was the people in your year to Christianity?
A lot of it was just kind of they didn't care. And especially in some of the classes that I'd be in, they'd take advantage of the fact that I am a Christian, and then they use like some stupid tradition that we do as a way to make a joke. And this joke would go on for like really long periods of time. And it would be funny at first, you'd laugh along with it, but it just got kind of annoying.
Because it's like that thing, if someone makes a joke like that, it can be like out of love, That's what, like, you know,
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
this about you, and we have, like, Braden and I do this to each other all the time, that we have a go at each other, but we know that it's actually because we love each other. But if a joke like that keeps going, they know it upsets you,
Yeah.
and they keep going. They're doing it more for themselves to get a reaction out of
Mhm.
you, to make you feel like crap, to again put you down, so you're not the insecurities of like, oh, if we keep Eli down, for example, he's not going to challenge us. Because I think that's also probably what was going on, that you being different, just even being a Christian, really challenged them. So like, let's get rid of this challenge, because now he's making us rethink perhaps what we're doing.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's true?
Possibly. Yeah.
Because people don't like, I mean, if you think about school, I mean, even outside of school, but people don't like being challenged of thoughts that are quite entrenched,
Yeah.
I think. And
People
so-
don't really like difference.
Yeah, but again, that puts you in that vulnerable position of, I'm not sure. So that makes me feel insecure. So I'm gonna lash out first, go out against like someone first, rather than let someone know that I'm not feeling it as quite as secure as I thought I would in this situation.
Mm.
So then they're just gonna keep going at you. But then they know, I've found the thing that'll keep Eli down for a certain amount of time. I'll just keep pounding away at that for a long time until, yeah.
Slowly weighs you down.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm guessing that happened a number of times,
Mm-hmm.
which then makes you feel like, what's this worth? Is it worth
Yeah.
being Christian? Did you think
Yeah.
that?
I did think that.
Mm.
And I think that's why I slowly fell away a bit. I didn't think of it directly,
Mm.
but it was kind of like a subconscious thing.
Oh, the impact
in
it
my
was having
mind.
on you.
The impact, yeah. And being stuck with them was a big thing for me. And like, it's not that I could just get out of it, because I'm stuck in the same classroom, and we're there for we're like sitting next to each other for such a long amount of time. Like year 11 and 12, 2 years is a long time
Yeah.
to be with
It's
those
all
people.
yeah, especially when you're 18.
Yes. There's not a lot else going on. Like school is probably, in a sense, the most regular thing that's going on
Mm.
that you kind of,
It's like
It's
the
kind of-
only thing
yeah.
that's going on, really.
Yeah. I had a question about, trying to remember what it was. You've mentioned like falling away a lot. What do you think that looked like?
It wasn't as bad as, like, when you say falling away, it's kind of like
Drifting?
It's kind of more just like slowly drifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there were periods of time where I was definitely questioning the reality of God, but I always had doubts that doubted my doubts.
Doubts that doubted your doubts.
There's,
What does
there's,
that
a,
mean?
there's a Citizen song. I forget do you know the line? It's called Doubting Doubts.
Yeah.
Ethan loves it.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's their best song, personally.
Really? But why were you saying that?
So an example, right, would be, how do I know this guy's real? Because I did physics, and so I was learning. I did
do you know
a lot
God's-
of stuff
God's
about
real?
it. Yeah.
Do you mean?
Yep. So I did physics, and I was learning about. I had to learn about the Big Bang, and
Mm.
it's a theory, but they kind of teach it to you like it's a reality.
Mm.
And so I'm like, is God really real? And then I'm like, there's all these other like weird phenomena and like ghosts and stuff that kind of are in our in our like world.
Mm.
And it's just, you can't really, science can explain the Big Bang, but it can't explain that. And I found that really interesting. And I also had a thought one day when I was taking the bins out that what's the loss of being a Christian, right? Apart from the earthly things, what's the loss of being a Christian? So you can be a Christian and then God cannot be real, and then you're just living your life as a Christian, then you die and then that's it. But you cannot be a Christian, and then you can find out when you die that God is real, and then you're like, well, shoot, I'm completely wrong. And so I'm like, let's just be a Christian, because it's win-win.
Yeah, I've had a thought like that. It's like, well, if it's not true, then maybe I made a difference to my life and some other people's life anyway.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I feel like that's a case for it being even truer, because like we have the Holy Spirit, and that is urging us to do certain things that God wants us to do, and to tries to align ourselves with God's will. So then you're like, well, okay, then it probably is true. Those are the thoughts that I've had. So that makes a lot of sense. Do you have any? So I thought you had a question. Or do you want the Citizens song? What's the part that you like about Citizens? Because I found the lyrics.
The part where it's called Doubting Doubts. Oh yeah, I could find it. I keep searching for the answers to my doubts. It's like I'm caught in between belief and wanting out.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So he's written, the guy from Citizens has written this, basically talking about his own wrestling with faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the concept of doubting doubts. Like you can have doubts that doubt your doubts. So you're doubting the existence of God, but then you're doubting those doubts that are against God. Does that make sense?
I think so. You're like, so you've got doubt, and then you're questioning them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so I'm a very literal person, and I
Yeah.
like hard facts.
Hard facts.
Hard facts.
Yeah.
Hard quiz. No. And so I prefer to have an answer to everything than to not have an answer. And there's a lot of things like...
Is that to do, again, because you want to be good at stuff, you think?
I think that's just my kind of...
Or you just don't want to be
That's kind of
caught out?
the way I think.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how my brain's formed. Like chess, a lot of strategic people play chess because it's a strategic game. And it uses that part of your brain to play it. And so that's just the way I am. But it's just, it allowed me to actually question the doubts that I was having. And that meant that I was able to come closer to drift towards God rather than drift away.
Yeah, I think the first verse is just, it slaps. I keep searching for the answers to my doubts.
Yeah.
It's like I'm caught between belief and wanting out. But there's this promise that my soul just cannot shake, that I'm loved despite the struggles of my faith. I think it's pretty easy to think, if I have doubts, then I'm not Christian. If I have doubts, then I'm not saved. If I am having any kind of thoughts or things, then like, what does that mean? I think it's a cool encouragement of a song. It kind of says like, the more I seek, the more I find. And like, it's talking about the fact that part of the Christian life and part of faith is doubts, but it's then pulling through that all the way through. And where's that?
I think you have to go
Yeah.
through doubts to actually grow stronger
Yeah.
Yeah.
in your faith.
I just want to shout it out for the world to hear it, that I'm his kid no matter what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
It's great.
Some great lyrics.
Yeah, they're really cool.
It's an awesome song.
Yeah, it's cool how songs, I don't know, I'm sure some people feel this way about poetry or about other creative or art or other creative mediums. It's fun how a song can really make you think in a way that other forms of media don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it brings up that emotion that's related to it as well, I think. And is that why, Eli, you're like, I like hard facts, but then when you're in these moments of doubt, you're pretty unsure? But then, so you're saying you realise that I need to have these doubts.
Yeah.
So it's almost like growing you as a person as well.
Definitely.
Like it's okay to not
Yeah.
have the exact answer all the time, and that God will. Because, I mean, that even sounds like when you were talking about doing the trials and you had that moment of realisation of, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because God will get it through here. So you're having doubts before that time with the trials? And then
Yes.
it kind of did it kind of lead to that point?
Yeah, I reckon.
That's pretty cool.
With all this time I had to study, I would find my mind wandering a lot.
Yeah.
And so I kind of needed something to help me concentrate, and that was music for me. And so I made this playlist full of Christian songs. And there weren't many, because I didn't really have a very good music knowledge, unlike Braden here.
Or your uncle.
Yeah. Check out Greg's podcast if you want to deep dive into Christian music.
Yeah. And that helped you?
Yeah, that really helped me, because I wasn't really praying much, and I wasn't really reading the Bible at all. And so that was kind of a way for me to build my connection with God and to kind of express that I do love God, even though I'm having doubts, and that I do want to get closer. I'm still unsure about a few things. And so I think that was really good for me.
Yeah. As we all are, though, too.
Yeah.
I think, like, just to encourage you, like, I go through doubts and stuff.
Mm.
And I think the good way, like, I suppose that one way to kind of not ward off the doubts, because I think the doubts will always come there, but if you are, like, reading your Bible and praying, I think you're better equipped to work through those doubts.
Yeah,
Because I
100%.
know, but even when I'm reading the Bible, for example, then I sometimes like, is this true? Or like, is this you know how people say that, like, the Bible's just like, it's just some story written 2,000 years ago. It's just all made up. But then you read it and you're like, but then why is it stuck around?
Yeah.
Like, why is it still a really, really important text, for example, just in the world? And again, as Christians, we believe it's like God's word, like it's God breathed.
Yeah.
I'm really just saying that because, I mean, I have similar thoughts sometimes.
And it's just like a quick one sentence thing, and it kind of throws you off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that really happen? Like that's the kind of thing. Oh, is this where people that are non-Christians say, like, oh, what about this, or planting crops side by side, or whatever it is? It's like, oh, maybe they're right. That's what I had. So maybe they're right about this. And then and then you're like, again, it's like that going through the doubting phase. But then you're like, yeah, but God has transformed me, right? It's not just like, it's seen from the outside of not, like, as non-Christians say, oh, it's just a set of rules. Well, in a sense, sometimes rules are helpful and sometimes boundaries are helpful, but then it's also like, but I want to. You are filled with this, you have this desire to want to actually change what you're actually doing, or to recognize your sin and go, I don't want this to happen again, or I don't want to keep doing this. Like, I want to get out of this pattern of behavior. And it's like, that's where, for me, it's kind of like all the truth lies.
Yeah.
And it's not just reading the text on the page, but like God is molding me and shaping me with his word as you go through life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. We're like immediately justified the minute we become a Christian. We're made clean in the sight of God, but then we're progressively sanctified over that period. And that can be
reading
hard.
Romans.
That can be, no, I haven't actually, but I've been getting slammed with doctrine. That's a different story. It's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But I think that is a struggle. You're being sanctified and you want to be more like Christ as you're going, but you're also stuffing up and you're also dealing with challenges and you're still dealing with sin. And so that could be a hard tension to navigate, especially when you're a young dude and you just you don't necessarily want to be copping rubbish at handball at lunch because you're a Christian. And you just like, other people don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard especially when you're younger.
And I think there's this other thing and this is something I've been thinking about lately, but it's also like being a Christian, like, because you're made in the image of God, you want to treat others the same.
Yeah.
And you're like, you go, like, for example, you go onto the handball court and I'm a Christian, I'm like, I want to be treated like that too, like you have in the church community to a large degree. So you're like, well, why don't other people want to do that? Like, I want that depth of relationship with other people. We can be there for each other when it's vulnerable. We can be there when it's just fun. But there's that connection because we're friends around Jesus that deepens the bond between us. But you're like, why can't you guys see that? And you're like, why can't you bring that to me too? I feel like that's just listening to your story and now some of my experiences at Eli, it makes me think, oh yeah, that might be why I was so frustrated at school, because it's like, oh guys, there's just more. There's just more here. You just have to give yourself to Jesus and be justified straight away. That's all you have to do to be able to be sanctified in ourselves and our relationships. And I just think that's really hard. It's really hard when you come out of school, because it's very similar. Yeah. You wrote, Eli, like a list of things that you wanted to talk about, and I said, give them to me, because we'll ask the questions. But you wrote on here youth camps. Why did you write youth camps?
Yes. So I've been on quite a few youth camps. So I've been on multiple Crusader camps, and I've been on LIT camps, and I've been on Schoolies, which is run by our church. which is basically not a youth camp, but in that environment that's outside of church, in a Christian environment that's outside of church. And so I think those are really cool, because in the midst of the chaos of school, there's these small little Christian friendships that you're building. And so crew camp, I went to a Nerf one. And so they base the camp around these missions that you have to do, and you're put into these teams. And as a team, you have to work through the missions, and it's like Nerf related. And there's all this lore that they've created through the years.
So it's like a progressive thing.
Yeah, and it's heaps of fun. And
That's
so
pretty cool.
I met these group of people at this crew camp, and we've been like friends for like 3 years. And we'd go there for a week, and then we'd be all sad that we were leaving. And then the next year, it's like nothing's changed. And I feel like it's different when you're, like that feeling is kind of different when you're not a Christian, because you kind of find joy in the fact that Christ unifies everyone through his death on the cross. And I kind of found that not the case when I've been with non-Christian people. I kind of feel a disconnect, like inside of me, which I don't know if that's the same experience with you, but it was definitely an experience with me.
No, I think it's actually playing into the thing that I said just before I asked you about youth camps. I think it's like there's more. Like there's more to be had here, and instead you see people chasing other things, but you're also like, I'm tempted to chase those other things too because we're sinful. But then you're like, but guys, I know the solution. Don't worry about the rest of this stuff. I know what where the source of our like neediness comes from, but also that Jesus changes that and fills that for us. And then so when you see other people like you get to experience those things where you're at church, whether you're at youth camp, whether you're at week away or on schoolies, and you're like, why can't this be like it forever? But we're not really called to just hang out with each other. We're also got to be out in the world. Yeah.
It's really hard. I remember having a few of those thoughts like you had. It's just like, I really want to be in a really deep relationship with my friends at school, but it just never happened.
Yeah. Yep.
It never happened. And on a side note, my cross necklace, this one, it was really cool for me to, because despite my quietness, it was an expression of my faith, and it was telling everyone that I am a Christian and that I'm owning it. And it also led to a bit of persecution, which was tough, but it was good because people come up to you and ask you random questions that you don't know the answers to. Like, does God hate gay people? And I'm in year 11 and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. And it's been a real kind of rock that I can stand firm in.
Constant reminder.
Constant reminder. Like Jesus says, take up your cross daily. It's kind of like that for me.
That's cool.
Can I poke? We've brought up schoolies, and I enjoyed schoolies thoroughly.
I enjoyed your food at schoolies.
Thank you.
It's delicious.
What was your favourite part, just briefly, for schoolies for our church, if you are unaware or don't know, we normally like to take the year 12s that have just graduated away for a bit of a holiday and to hang out and to really celebrate the fact that they've finished high school, and it's really fun. And we did that with Eli this year. Eli, how was schoolies?
I absolutely loved it.
Why?
We saw a slug.
Yes, we did.
We saw a nice
Was that
pink
your
slug.
idea to see the slug?
No.
Whose idea was that?
This was Lewis. Lewis had
Oh,
brought up years before. He's
really?
been talking about it for years.
Oh.
'Cause I think his uncle was a park ranger and wrote some paper on the slug or something.
Okay.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's a weird connection there. When part 2 of Lewis happens, you can ask.
That's happening
Lewis
very
about the
soon,
slug.
in a couple of weeks.
You can ask Lewis about where the origins of that idea.
That's a
but
good idea.
yeah, traditionally it was Lewis's idea. But more about the slug. Eli, what did we do on your schoolies?
So I was the only graduate, year 12 graduate on Schoolies.
Yeah.
And so the leaders decided to take my favorite movies, The Lord of the Rings, and to make it the theme. And so we got everyone to dress up in capes,
Robes.
in robes. That the fellowship used.
Yeah.
And we had 9 people there
Yeah,
altogether,
the
which is
perfect
the
amount.
perfect amount.
Ordained.
Yep. And there was 9 people in the fellowship, and there was 9 of us at Schoolies.
Yeah.
And so we kind of messed around and just had a blast playing board games and drawing random stuff.
But we climbed Mount Mordor, didn't we?
We did climb Mount Mordor. We travelled all the way from the Southern Shire,
From the Shire.
the Shire, through the Misty Mountains, aka
Yes.
the Blue Mountains, to get to Mordor, which we called Mount Capitar,
Yeah.
which is a long way away.
It's
And
a wonderful national park.
it's
If
beautiful.
it wasn't so far away, I'd love to go back.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But yeah, what did we do in Mount Capitar?
Well, there is this. We've talked about this slug before, and this pink slug lives only on this mountain in the
Yeah.
entire world. Like they don't know how many slugs there are because they're
Yeah.
so rare, and you can travel anywhere. They'll only be in this mountain, and so we went to this mountain, and the way to find them, like the reason they come out into the open, is just after it rains
Yeah.
or at night, and so we waited for it to rain, and then we drove up. But when we got up there, it hadn't rained. It stopped raining, and so we were looking around for a really long time, actually, like an hour and a half.
Yeah, but it was crazy. It was like misty,
Yeah,
and there
yeah,
was
it was awesome.
There was mountain goats like at the
Mountain
top.
goats, yeah,
The mountain.
yeah.
It was great. Yeah, it
There was so
great.
much poo.
There
There was so much goat poo. It was
Yeah.
gross.
But legit, it was like we're gonna find some elves up here. This is way too crazy.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then it started like a random like downpour just came from nowhere, and we just ran to the car, and that lasted for like 5 minutes. And then we were like, we've been looking in the wrong place, and so we went to like the rocky outcrop area of the mountain, and we found it,
Yeah.
a singular pink slug.
And played it music, right?
Yep, we
Yeah, we
serenaded,
serenaded
it
it.
with some Shire music.
Yeah, I think we have a video of it. If you have the video of it, if you have the video of it.
Yeah. Cut it in.
It was very fun to play the recorder. Not so fun to listen to the recorder while driving for like 7 hours.
I will chuck that out the window.
I think it was good. I was in the car with Ethan. We were generally the loud car, and I think it was keeping Ethan awake.
And that's really cool, by the way. I also want to ask you about leading.
Leading?
Because you're now leading youth.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
right?
Youth and Fuse. So originally when I was in school, I was only leading youth, which is our
As a light leader.
as a light leader, yep. For our 7 to 10 boys and girls. And now that I have more time on my hands and I'm not at school, I can just come straight here and do Fuse, which is a little bit earlier, and that's for 4 to 6s.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just another way that I can minister to people.
Yeah. And were you excited to do that? Did you say minister to the people? Minister to those heathens that are sitting out there. Was that something you always wanted to do? You're always thinking, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
Mm.
I didn't know if I'd have the energy at first to do it, but I do. I definitely do.
Is that the same with LIT, it's called, isn't it?
Yep.
So you do always year 13. Which one is it called? Sorry, I always get confused between the two things.
The camp or
No. So no, you're
The
doing
gap
year,
year.
yeah, you're doing year 13.
yeah, year 13.
Okay, so that's to help you kind of figure out what you want to do with your life, but
Yep.
also studying the Bible, so you can you're really grounded in your
Yeah.
theology and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. And what is? Oh, I think Fuse has started. How's that helping you as well right now? Because you're doing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool because like the culture shock from LIT and schoolies and crew camp, it's kind of like school it's kind of turned on its head. So instead of the place that I go every week being a negative community, it's like the place I go to every week is a positive community. So I go to a camp in Loftus, like a campsite in Loftus, called Camp Wanawong, and I go there every Wednesday and Thursday, and I sleep the night there. And so obviously I'm over a long period of time, I'm going to get really close to these guys.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be really interesting to see the difference between school and year 13.
Yeah, that's
And I already feel like the friendships that I've made are just like really solid.
That's great.
And like people that I don't really talk to much, like they love me and I love them.
But it's like it's almost like complete flipping of what you're experiencing at school. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's very similar to my story, I think. And I think that's what's really cool about it, the way that God works. And like, as a result of that, there's the last question that we always ask on the podcast, which is, now I know you're only 18, but what you know now as a Christian, what do you wish you knew when you were a younger Christian?
Oh man.
So many.
So many. I think just it doesn't really matter because we're going to heaven.
Yeah, right.
And I only had that for the end of school,
Yeah.
and that would have been a lot less stressing if I had known that, and I would have just been able to walk through school like in a lot more peace, with a lot more joy than I did.
I'm just writing the title down. Doesn't really matter because we're going to heaven. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, Eli, I think we might wrap up the chips, as we like to say on the Chip Lunch podcast.
Wrap up chips. I like
wrap
that.
up the chips. But I think it's been really cool having you on, and I think.
Thank you. It's been great being here.
But I think, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I think it's also been really cool to hear your story. I think there would be many young people perhaps feeling the same way as you.
Yeah.
As I said, I identify with a lot of things that you've gone through, similar for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like my original thoughts on a title were stick with it. And I think that's what you've done, because
thank you.
you said that you drifted sometimes, and you could have drifted completely away from God, but you didn't. And I think that's a testament to how strong your faith is, even though you're only 18, and I think it's only going to get stronger. But I think there's been a lot of stuff in here, like what we've talked about today, that's been super encouraging and really helpful for people like your age, but also I think like for me, and for hopefully maybe someone that's more than 10 years older than you. So, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Can I just say one last thing before we leave?
Of course you can.
I have a bit of wisdom, and what I learnt from my HSC is that God uses challenges and trials, no pun intended with the trials, to build you up as a Christian.
Totally. Refined by fire.
Refined by fire. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And I wish I knew that when I was younger too.
Yeah.
Rather than, why is it all so hard? And I wish I knew to welcome that as what God was doing to me.
Yeah.
Rather than, not really enjoying it.
Like I came out of the HSC as a completely different person.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah, that's cool. Any final words, Braden, before we wrap up those chips?
None at all.
None?
Thanks, Eli. I love you, brother.
Thank you. Love you too.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, let's ground and pound it. Thank you, everyone, for listening as well, or watching, whether it's on YouTube or on your favourite podcast app. I hope you've enjoyed the story with Eli, because I really have. And thank you again to Eli, and we always finish with a one way. You ready?
One way. Oh, this has been Chip Lunch. Oh, this has been Chip Lunch. Everybody come and eat your chips, because this has been Chip Lunch.
Thanks to Greaves, because he'll be the only one that's still watching. One way.